little bit of a field or a prairie here, but we're right on the edge of some bigger trees, and we're also right on the edge of this wetland right over here. So do you guys have any thoughts about maybe any types of birds in particular that would really like this kind of habitat?
Are there any flamingos out there, Nate?
I haven't seen anything bright and pink, but I have seen something that was bright yellow. But I'm not sure exactly what it was. And I've seen some reds too.
Would a swallow live in that nest?
Like a tree swallow, we have nest boxes that are very similar to this right out in that wetland that a tree swallow might like. But this might be a little bit too far away from the water for them. I'm not sure.
People are suggesting blue jays and cardinals. Connie, do you want to say something?
If I can figure out how.
I just unmuted you.
Oh, I was wondering about a goldfinch.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks.
That's a possibility. Well,
How do
let's
I
take
hide
a
me?
look. We'll give her a good knock first. Make sure nobody's in there. Okay, let me turn the camera around so that you guys can see the nest. So it's not taking up the whole box. It's pretty neat and tidy. And it's mostly these little grasses. And then if we take a look inside, we've got some eggs. They look like they're a pale blue color. Does anyone have any guesses about what kind of bird we've got in here before I tell you?
A robin?
That's a good guess, because robins have very similar colored eggs. Blue jay is a good guess too. I saw that one, same color. But you're on the right track with blue. What I think this is a bluebird nest. Because it's got these nice little grasses and twigs in there. It's a really neat nest. And those eggs definitely look like bluebird eggs to me. And I saw a bluebird over here a little bit ago. So bluebirds really like these open fields, and especially right at the edge of other habitats. They eat a lot of insects and fruit and berries and those kinds of things. And we actually set up these boxes when people started first putting bird boxes up. It was to help bluebird species, and it worked. We've done a really good job of conserving bluebirds in the United States, and these boxes have been a big part of that. Does anyone have any questions about bluebirds before we move on to one of our other nest boxes?
Oliver and Maggie's hand is raised.
No.
Oh, okay, I'll lower that. How did putting up those nest boxes help, Nate?
Which means that they need a lot of standing dead trees to build their nests in, or some kind of unconventional places that you might not always find in the habitats that they want. So these nest boxes provide a place for them to be able to lay their eggs and have a nest and raise the next generation of bluebirds every year.
Awesome. So if there weren't enough empty trees, we have these nest boxes to act like that instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And if you think about, what Ohio looked like even 50 years ago, there would have been a lot less forest. Our forest is making a really nice recovery, so there are now more trees than there were then. But at one point, bluebirds were really rare, and so there was this huge campaign, like Nate was saying, nationwide, to build boxes to give them more chances to nest, and it's worked. Now there's a lot of bluebirds.
Awesome. So let's remember what that bluebird nest looked like, how it was kind of tidy, and was that straw or twigs in there? Okay, kind of like dead grasses. Let's remember to compare that to some of the other nests that we look at. Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
thought of the
course.
possibility of our egg being a blue jay, because I've seen a mama blue jay flying around, but it could have been. But I mean, I've seen her nest and it's really not tidy. It's not.
Yeah, bluebirds have blue jays have messiness. And that egg you have there is, I think, big enough to be a bluebird. It's a big egg.
Mm-hmm. It's.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it is pretty big. It's not too big though.
Good clues. Dani, do you still have a train going by, or are we ready to see what you're up to?
Trying not to hurt all your guys' ears, but it's going by, so I wonder if that disrupts the bird boxes at all. It disrupts the birds trying to set up their nests at all. But so I am at so Nate and Madison are at Little Fish. I am just down the road at the Armitage location, and you guys might hear a turkey gobble. There's a turkey on a farm nearby. Let me switch my camera. So these boxes are mostly in the water. We're trying to set them up for prothonotary warblers, but sometimes other bird species likes to make their nest in them. So this one, can you guys see this right here? This was my first hint that there was something inside the box. There's a little wisp of moss there. So let me see, I'm a little short, so I'm gonna very gently turn the box over to higher ground. All right, I'm gonna give it a little tap, just like Nate did. And I actually saw the two breeding pairs. They were checking me out because I think they were nervous that I'm near their nest. They were over on that tree right over there watching me, so they might come back. But let's take a look in. Ah! Okay, sorry. Yep, there was a bird in there. I was not expecting that. So, did anyone see that? Oh, I'm sorry, I moved the camera too quickly. I need a helper with me. But can you guys see this nest at all? Let me try and move it in the light more. Can you guys see it? Or is my camera too bad? There we go. All right, so what do you guys notice about this nest versus the one Nate just showed you guys?
Green.
Yeah, moss. What do you think the moss might do more for the eggs? Yeah, it's really fluffy. It's nice.
Yeah, it would insulate a little.
Yeah, insulation. That's a good idea. Keep them nice and warm.
Yeah.
So do you guys see anything else besides moss on the top?
Grass.
Feathers, yeah. So when I first found this nest, I had no idea what type of bird was making it. And Joe suggested that it might be a tufted titmouse. And I did not know that was a bird. I thought it was a mouse species, so I was really, really concerned. But let me take a look inside because we do have some eggs, but it's kind of dark. So hopefully you guys can see. And I'm not the best. Maybe someone can let me know.
There's some live birds in there.
Yeah, there's baby birds.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know. Okay, I saw eggs earlier. That is crazy. Can you guys see?
Eggs white?
Baby birds.
The eggshells are still in there, so they must have just hatched.
Oh wow, okay. So I'm gonna leave them alone then, because they look, I'm sure mom and dad are not very happy with me right now. Yeah, just hatched. That is crazy. So I saw the eggs, but I didn't notice that they were cracked open because I'm a little short. So that is really cool. Did you guys see what color the eggs were?
White, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like a cream color, and they have like reddish brown splotches and like speckles all over them. You guys, unfortunately, I think I got scared and I jerked the camera away. I was trying not to drop it in the water. So I don't think you guys saw what flew out, but does anyone have any ideas as to what it could be? What type of birds? It's kind of a hard one. I didn't know about this bird before.
It was just calling in the background too.
Yeah, is that, oh, are those the birds? All right, let's just listen to them for a second because I think they're angry at me. I'm gonna move away from their nest. They're probably all agitated. But I'm gonna let you guys know they are Carolina chickadee birds. And they have pretty interesting faces. They kind of have like a black, it almost looks like a cap on, and like a black on this part of their face, and then they have white stripes on the side. So they're really cool. They're not too big, not as big as robins or anything like that, but I'm trying to think of what else to share with you guys. Joe, Darcy, anyone have anything to share?
That was the most exciting thing we could possibly have hoped for.
Yeah, I was surprised. All right, and then I'm just glad I didn't drop my phone in the water, honestly.
Yeah, that's good. For some reason, the chickadees, I've noticed, don't fly out when you tap on the box. So that's happened to me too. It's really can startle you.
But yeah, that's good to know. I probably should not have stood directly in front of the entrance hole either for next time.
Good lesson.
All right, I think I'm gonna send it over to another bird box.
Madison, you want to go? I've got plenty of battery here.
Sure.
Or should we save the feathers for the grand finale?
I don't mind. I'm okay either way. I've got 64%, so I think I should be good.
Well, yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Here we go. I was able to get it. So I guess I wanted to start off by taking a look at the ecosystem that we're in. So this might look familiar to what Nate showed you earlier because we're at the same spot, just on different ends of the wetland. And the bird boxes that we're going to check out today are these two. I don't know, can you guys see bird boxes through the cattails?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can see them. They're little, but
okay, great. We'll walk out there in just a minute. Does anybody have any ideas of what could be living in these boxes?
or maybe why a bird might choose a place that looks like this instead of a place that looked like where Dani was, because they look like pretty different places.
I'll give you a hint. Can you see them? It might be hard to see on this phone camera. They twist and turn in the air when they catch insects, and they're often in wetlands, and they particularly like beaver ponds.
Olivia suggested there might be crows out there, and Susan also asked if maybe people would choose this, maybe birds would choose this habitat because there's a different food source there.
Yeah, those are both great answers. So I have seen some crows here earlier, but I have not seen crows in or near these boxes very much. And yes, this wetland has lots of bugs all around it. So things like mayflies and caddisflies, lots of aquatic insects. So that's why the birds that are nesting in these boxes like this area a lot. So I'll let you know that there's tree swallows in this area, and that's they like the wetland because there's lots of insects and things like that. So let's go check them. All right, I'm gonna give a knock first to see if anybody's in there. Okay, nobody came out, but there is a nest in here. So what are the first things that you notice of the nest?
Neat.
Yes, it is very neat.
Yeah.
Can you see the material that it's made out of?
Olivia notices twigs.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it looks mostly like twigs and grasses to me. And then, can you see in the nest at all? It might be hard.
Empty.
Empty? Yeah, I'm a little short, so I can't see. I had a hunch that this was a tree swallow because I've seen tree swallows flying in and out of the nest. And there's one a little bit further that I wanted to check out because it was a lot less developed last week when I checked it out. There's our friend Nate.
This deep.
Okay, so I'll give another knock. I think you'll have to come over to this. Oh, oh wow, it's a lot more developed since the last time I checked it out. What do you guys think?
Does
So
it seem
this,
the same or different as the other nest? Maybe similar.
yeah, it looks to be very similar materials to me. But I haven't seen as many birds around this one, so I'm pretty unsure of what it could be.
It's very deep.
Yeah, this one does have, it's a lot thicker than the last one that we just looked at. You're right.
Joe, did you get a decent look at them? Do you have an opinion on the nests?
That one I think is a little too early to tell, because it's just grass right now, so could be a really deep bluebird nest, could be a tree swallow nest, because tree swallow nests are basically bluebird nests with the addition of a lining of their nest cup with feathers. So they look pretty similar until the swallows put the feathers in there. But then if the nest turns into like the box being pretty much full, it could be a house sparrow.
Okay,
Which,
good to know. I
So
don't
we
see
have a
any
cliffhanger.
of the sparrows around right now. I think
Thomas asked what color are the eggs? There aren't any eggs in that nest yet.
no
Thomas.
eggs in neither.
Are you asking
either.
about a certain kind of bird?
yeah, that's another way to tell those two apart. The tree swallow eggs are all white. And then you saw the bluebird eggs that are light blue. And house sparrow eggs are blue with red speckles on them.
I just have one more thing I wanted to share about tree swallows. So we said that they like wetland areas as one habitat, and I also wanted to let you know that they like prairie habitats. And I wanted to see if you guys could guess how they got their name. If they live near areas without very many trees, why are they called tree swallows? Does anybody know?
Meredith asked if they eat the trees.
They don't eat trees. No, not usually. They eat insects, and I read that sometimes they'll eat eggshells of other eggs when they need more calcium to lay their own eggs, but mostly just insects is what I found. That's a really good guess, though. I'll let you know if no one else has a guess.
The next guess is if they migrate.
They do migrate, yes. But I'm not sure even when they do migrate to the south if they're in a habitat that has much trees.
We're talking tree swallows still, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they'll only raise one brood or one batch of babies, and then after that they start heading south. So usually like as early as July they can start leaving.
Wow, that is fast.
Yeah. And then they're usually one of the first migratory birds to return in the spring, like in March.
Well, I'll let you know that they make their nest in hollowed out trees. So a lot of times they'll find cavities in trees that woodpeckers have made, and that's where they'll put their nest if there's no nest box around, or that's what they would use if there were no nest box. So that's how they get their name, is because they make their nest in the trees, but they don't really live near forest or anything like that. Okay, if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer them about tree swallows or anything like that. But if not, we can pass it on to Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. Where are you?
Well, I am further along the Athens bike path, up from Dani. So like if you were to park at Eclipse and head left on the bike path, I'm up that way. And I'll show you what I'm looking at here. So the species that you're gonna get to see hopefully is the prothonotary warbler. And so I'm sitting near this box, and as we've been talking, I've been watching both the male and the female bringing moss into the nest box. So if we sit here long enough, hopefully you'll get to see that. But to kind of back up a little bit, birds are really interesting in that every bird from the same species will make pretty much the exact same type of nest. So that's kind of how you can identify them. And things like robins, they don't make their nests inside of tree cavities, or they won't use a nest box. They'll use like ledges and stuff, but mostly you see them making their nests in like the fork of a branch, and they use a lot of mud in there and things like that. So there's only certain species that we can study by putting up these nest boxes. So the chickadees are one, the bluebirds that Nate showed you, sorry, there's a red-shouldered hawk calling up there. It's kind of distracting. The bluebirds, the tree swallows that Madison was just showing us, and this species that we're waiting for here, the prothonotary warbler, is actually only one of two warblers in the entire world that nests in tree cavities. And a warbler is like a small songbird. Many of them are really colorful, and they are almost all migratory. So like these prothonotary warblers, they breed up here in like the southeastern US and possibly all the way up to Canada. But then they spend their winters down in like the mangrove forests of Florida, or even further south, like in Mexico and Middle and South America. So they come up here nests to raise their babies. And this is pretty typical habitat here for the prothonotary warblers. What are some of the parts of the habitat that you all are noticing from here? What do you think makes up the habitat we're looking at here? Give you a little view of what's over here too. Yes, tree.
Like-
Trees and water, 2 keys right there, yeah.
Swamp, marsh.
Hey. How are you? Good, how are you? So I'm sitting right along the bike path here. Yeah, so trees and water, that almost kind of sums it up. But if you'll notice, there's one more key here. Since they're making their nests out of this, it's got to have moss. But, you know, a lot of these species that we're talking about today, especially the tree swallows and the prothonotary warblers, they need healthy wetlands to live in, because if the water quality is not good, then there will be no insects in the water and they won't have anything to eat. So these prothonotary warblers, they fly around like really low on the bases of trees, foraging for insects on the leaves, getting caterpillars off there. And they'll also eat like mayflies and things that depend on the water for their life cycle. So they're really an indicator of water quality and of healthy wetlands. So that's one reason why they're so important.
That's pretty crazy that a bird can let you know whether the water is healthy.
It's very crazy. Like those tree swallows, especially, one family of tree swallows in the summer will eat 250,000 insects. So they need a lot of insects. Some of those, of course, are mosquitoes. Well, I haven't seen the adults. I might have moved a little too close to the box, but I'm gonna go ahead and open it up just to let you see what they're working on in here. So just a quick tap. And you can see these boxes have like it's called a hole extender to make it harder for a raccoon to reach their paws in here. So this box is loaded with moss. I'm gonna try to shove it in here. So the female finishes the nest by bringing in like rootlets. Actually, I've read that they'll use some poison ivy roots and grasses to make the cup of the nest. And I'm gonna just grab my pack here. So something really crazy about these prothonotary warblers is that they need several options for their nests. So this is the box they're actually going to nest in. Great question, Olivia. Poison ivy does not harm them. So that's one singing over here. I don't know if you can hear that. It's like a... So basically, the males migrate back here first, and they'll put little bits of moss in sometimes 4 of these nest boxes. Let's see if this one's got any in here. Just a little tiny bit. And then when the female arrives, like maybe a few days or a week later, she picks the one that she feels is best, and then she'll finish building the nest by, like I said, bringing in the poison ivy rootlets, like little tiny roots, and grasses to make like the cup of the nest. So it's really interesting. So basically we have a total of, along the bike path anyway, 8, 16, 32 boxes. And those will probably be used by like 6 breeding pairs. So see, the males loaded this nest up with little moss. And we've seen sometimes chickadees will actually take these nests over and take advantage of the prothonotarians bringing the moss in. Okay, there's one more to check on up here. So we haven't had this happen yet, but brown-headed cowbirds can actually lay eggs in the prothonotary nest. And the brown-headed cowbirds are bigger, and the chicks are a little more aggressive. And so it can really make it hard on the prothonotary parents because they're having to like raise these big, see there's moss, more moss. This male did a good job. So they can, if they have a cowbird chick in the nest, it can make them work like a lot harder, or sometimes the cowbird can even push the chicks out of the nest. You hear one prothonotary singing over there. I'm gonna try and get close enough so we can see him bringing nesting material in.
Olivia asked, by checking the boxes, do the birds know to come back and keep living in the boxes?
What's the question?
By checking the boxes, do the birds know to come back and keep living in the boxes?
Like as they're bringing moss back and forth? Is that what you mean, Olivia? Or do you mean like from one year to the next? Oh, good question. Yeah, so the once they finish the nest, which may take as long as 8 days for the female to finish it, she'll start laying eggs, and they can have anywhere from 3 to I think 8. So she'll like maybe lay 1 egg a day, and then when she's done laying eggs, they've got to incubate them, just like Oliver and Maggie are doing, just by sitting on them. That can take almost a couple weeks, and then after they hatch, they got to keep feeding them until they get big enough. So that's like a long time, and they're coming and going from the nest all that time. So there's a lot of, they spend a lot of time coming and going from the nest. And great question about, are we scaring the birds away? Yeah, we're definitely disturbing their natural behavior, but we try to make sure it's just a little bit. Like when Dani realized the eggs had hatched, she got out of there right away. And there's this website called nestwatch.org, and it gives you really good advice for like how to be respectful about checking bird nests. So anytime I'm opening the boxes, I try to not have it open for any more than 1 minute at a time, and usually it's much less. So we'll only check on these a couple of times a week. So basically, like the bird should only be disturbed for 2 or 3 minutes a week, I guess. But we're very careful. And by we, I mean those of us who are stationed out here at the nest boxes today. But we also have a really great team of volunteers who we've like divided up all of our boxes. I think we have over 60 boxes across the area. So we divide them up and check them every week. But I think I am just a little too close. When we were looking at the other boxes, I was sitting about this far away, and I was watching the female fly across the wetland over there and then fly into the box with a mouthful of moss. She actually flew right across my toes once. So, they're not too disturbed by my presence for sure. But it's a cool thing about just getting out and sitting. Like right now, this time of year, just sitting still, you can see a lot of bird activity. Because right now we have birds migrating through here that are going further north. we have a lot of species who have just arrived and have already started setting up nests. And I've heard a couple people say they've already seen like baby geese or ducks. So there's some eggs that are already hatched out. Well, and like the chickadees are just hatched. We've got a couple other chickadee nests too. So it's an exciting time of year for sure.
Yeah, so if you all live near Athens and you know the bike path, all of the things we looked at today were near the bike path. So Joe's near Eclipse, and Dani is at the end of Armitage Road, and Nate and Madison were at the wetland that's near Little Fish Brewing Company. So you can take a walk on the bike path, staying safe distance from everyone, of course. And maybe if you sit for a while like Joe, maybe you'll see them flying to and from there.
So the train that oh, never mind. It's just a train fixer.
Okay, so we have less than 10 minutes left. Is there anything that anyone wanted to get a closer look at any of the spots that Joe or Dani or Madison are?
I want to just add one more thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have these nest boxes to give the birds more options for nesting, but without the nest boxes, they'd be using something like this, like a dead tree where there's a woodpecker that's been excavating the hole, or like, you know, up there that looks like maybe an old woodpecker nest. That's what they would be using. So woodpeckers are so important because so many birds use their nests.
Awesome. Thank you for that true tree cavity that you just showed us. Olivia, what's your question? I'll unmute you. Oh, she typed, can a person just walk up and check them? Like maybe if they're out on the bike path, could they check them?
No, but you can email me, joe@relaxing.org, and we can get you enrolled in our volunteer system. And just the reason for that is we don't want to disturb the birds more than we have to. So like if somebody came along just running by or biking by and checked the boxes, and then one of our volunteers came out shortly after, it might stress the birds out a little bit. But yeah, thank you for asking. And we'd love to get you involved in checking boxes. We can also send like the blueprint for making boxes, information about that.
Awesome, thanks. And like you said earlier, you can watch and sometimes see them flying back and forth. Thomas, do you have a question? Or did anyone else have a question?
I might try to share something really quick if you guys would want to see. I'll explain what it is. So there's some tree swallows building a nest in one of the boxes out here at Little Fish, and they like to line their nest with feathers from other birds. They're pretty active around this nest or around this box, and I brought some feathers. I might try to give the tree swallows the feathers and see if they'll take them into their nest.
Let's see it.
Okay.
Toss them up, Madison.
I move out of the way, they'll come and get them? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they'll pick them off. They'll pick them off the water. Yeah, if anybody has like chicken feathers or duck feathers at home and you're around a place where there are swallows nesting, sometimes you can toss them up in the air and they'll pluck them right out of midair. It's like part of their courtship. They'll sometimes take the feather, toss it up to themselves, or toss it back and forth to each other.
Awesome. Well, if we're lucky, maybe we'll see it, or maybe another time we can try it. Any more questions before we end today? Awesome. Well, I can't wait to find out what happens to Oliver and Maggie's bird egg, and keep your eyes peeled for the different kinds of bird nests you see. You can always email us, darcy@ruralaction.org or joe@ruralaction.org, to show us what you found. And next week, I think we'll be doing a field trip at a stream, because we're doing all watershed stuff on our blog this week. So we'll have a stream macroinvertebrate fish field trip. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Coming, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for doing this. This was awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
It was really fun. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for trying the feather toss, Madison.
You're welcome. I'm sticking around to see if they pick any out of the water, but no, they're not.
I didn't want to tell you this, but I've only had that work like 10% of the time.
It just really seemed like it wasn't going to work because they fly away when I go out there, you know?
Yeah.
But when I went to write the number on the box, they started dive bombing me. So I thought maybe, but
That's a good.
not this time.